Kristin Finger, 4 awesome movies this weekend.
I mean, I watched them all. I watched every...
Wait, what did you watch? Because I'm talking, this is my 4 movies. I watched Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, I watched Noel, I watched Home Sweet Home Alone, and I watched the beginning, in fairness, but not all of, Jungle Cruise.
I watched Jungle Cruise. I watched Red Notice. I watched all of Home Sweet Home Alone.
Trash, and I loved it. Oh yeah, we also watched a whole bunch of this Hallmark crap.
I guess we watched some Hallmark movies. I don't know.
It's been a long, exhausting day. Your troubles just won't go away. One thing that gets you through these is watching cheesy holiday movies. You think that you're above them, but you know that you love them. So get ready to listen. Now here comes Kevin and Kristin. Oh yeah.
Hey, welcome. We are back for a fresh new episode of Remark. I am host A, Kristin Finger. This is...
Host B, Kevin Reagan. I like that we have letters now.
I don't know. I figured I'd assign us something.
Kristin, 4 maybe great movies.
I don't know. Kev, I think we spoke too soon last week when we're like, wow, these are...
I wonder if the movies leading up to Thanksgiving last year were less than, because these were less than. Like, it felt like they dumped these movies.
Oh, maybe. Maybe they were like, well, wait till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we've already got you. Because, again, last week was excellent. All 4 movies were absolutely great.
Yeah.
I mean, absolute Hallmark great. And this week, I honestly, we'll get to it. The last one was tolerable. But beyond that, I was like, oh, mama. So, oh, mama. The first movie we watched was a little something called Nantucket Noel, which I got to tell you, still feel that my title was much better. And
I agree. I still don't understand why Hallmark hasn't called us to do these things better for them.
Yeah, I'll give you the synopsis real quick. This version was, during the seaside Noel celebrations, Christina learns of a developer who is planning to tear down the wharf that is home to her toy store. Tensions rise as she falls for the developer's son, Andy. This was my story, just very quickly. My Nantucket, Noel, not Noel, was about Noel Gallagher of Oasis and his brother Liam. They butt heads, and Noel draws Liam in Secret Santa, so he goes to Nantucket to escape his brother and not have to buy him a gift.
I watched that one.
That's a great movie.
Which one are you talking about?
That is a great movie.
So this movie, the one we had to watch, Nantucket Noel, was starring the Ken doll that starred in USS Christmas that I hated. Yeah. So, and I always feel so bad when I say hated. I just say I don't care for the looks of a too perfect of a human.
Is he? And they even had a reference in the movie where they said he looks like Brad Pitt's younger brother, and I was like, I don't. I mean, I get maybe it's in a twins setting. Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger, twins situation. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. Like, look.
No, that's the thing. I mean, what are we saying? Like, we're the most average Joe-looking people ever.
And I'll be honest, Trevor Donovan was not the problem with this movie. Like, if he was, that would be great.
The woman I did not recognize. I am a huge fan of White Christmas, and the one actress in that movie, my mom and I, every year when we watch it, talk about how small her waist was.
Yeah.
The actress's waist in this movie was so I was like, wow, she's beautiful. Like, she's just like this porcelain doll. So I guess they put Barbie with Ken.
It's exactly it. SarahPower is the name of the actress that plays Christina. So
beautiful.
Well, we do have right out of the gate, Kristin, we start with not 1, but 2 dual dead mom alerts. They both have dead moms. We will find also that Andy Trevor Donovan's father, Oscar, his character's name is Oscar, is his wife. And I want to kind of deep dive into that in a moment. But I also want to bring up this because I loved it. And she definitely was the highlight for me of the movie was the little girl. Her name is Wink. It is a nickname for...
Winifred.
Godwink. I believe it was.
Oh, is that what? I'm so sorry. Should we do that again?
Yeah. No, it's okay. You're right. That's what she says in the script. But I was like, they don't have a Godwink this year, and I felt this was their way of going. We always have a Godwink. Thank you for the wink, Chris.
Always. I'm always good for it. Can I do this eye? No, I can only do one.
I mean, that's close. Let's call that perfection.
She was a cute kid. I liked her.
Her name is Peyton Lipinski because I looked up Tara Lipinski, but it's spelled differently because I was like, oh, is she related to Tara Lipinski? She's not. She was great. She was very cute. Her character, very early on in the film, goes into the toy store with her father and tries to steal a mermaid stuffed animal thing.
That was a weird, again, camera shooting was weird.
Yeah.
Because it was like clip to dad, clip to her. And she was like taking her shoes off for no reason in the store. Besides,
that's Christina, not the daughter. But yeah, that was... Yeah. I don't know why she did that either. They didn't explain.
But then like there's this creepy window where she's like, what's the little girl doing? Yeah. And then sees the little girl put the mermaid in her jacket.
Yeah.
And my pen got stuck in my bosom. Went over. So then, and essentially she doesn't get that mad because she's a nice person. And this is a kid who's, if it was like a teenager, I'd be like, you punk. But she's like, well, you have to work for me for a few hours tomorrow to make it up, which I thought was cute. I feel like Christina's reaction to this just was proof that like the Nantucket kids are a bunch of hoodlums that she's used to dealing with and was like, theft, not a problem.
No. So in the very, very beginning of the movie, I'm going to jump to the idea that they condemn this wharf. And here's how they show that the wharf is in bad shape. Her door sticks, which her friend Harriet says, you should have that looked at. And she goes, you just have to have the magic touch. Besides, it cuts down on theft. So obviously Nantucket has a lot of problems.
This town is dangerous.
It absolutely is. Then when she turns her light switch on, it goes on and she's like, so obviously electricity could be problematic. And then at some point she steps on a board on the boardwalk and it doesn't really, there's ice around it. So I think she slipped, but whatever. She falls and that's where Ken Doll catches her, which was very weird and awkward.
That was another like shot to them, shot to him. And like you saw it happening and I was like, oh, I hate this so much.
But that was enough for Oscar Biddlesman to say, screw it, we got to tear the whole wharf down. It's like, really? Because, like, shave the door down a little bit. Andy fixed the electricity in the movie, and the board, like, go to the beach. If you look at the board, they replace boards every year because that's what happens.
I have this might be, I don't know. What is a wharf? What is the true definition of a wharf? The amount of times they mentioned the wharf, I was like, is it a boardwalk? What?
I think, so I'm not a wharf freak. That's my Paul F. Tompkins reference. Listen to Wharf Freak, great album. But I do believe it is like that whole area that they are in. And I think it has to do with where the water is, where the marina is. And we find, and this is what I really wanted to dive into, because this is insanity to me. We find in the opening of the film, and I know I've said the opening of the film like 4 times, but there's so much exposition in the opening of the film. When Andy comes with his daughter, he's divorced, he's newly divorced. His daughter is staying with him through Christmas, and he has her look out at the marina, and he says to her, this was your grandmother's favorite spot. And to her credit, the little girl, like every little girl should, says, oh, like that's... Because why would they give a crap? They don't.
No.
We find out later, Andy's father, Oscar, who is retired, but is still heading this project, to honor the legacy of his dead wife alert, is ripping the whole freaking thing down.
I didn't understand. His idea was to tear it down to build it up for the wife. But like if that was her favorite spot.
I don't know. It was so dumb. Yeah, it was very stupid. It was one of the ones that pissed me off.
Another thing besides a ton of exposition in the top of the film was someone knew that a graphic designer would be watching this film and decided to give me a seizure by presenting every terrible font possible.
I texted you about that because I found it so bizarre. That once I recognized, first of all, the font to the movie was just the title of the movie was very weird and simplistic, and I was like, okay. Then the title of the actors was a different font, but also very odd choice. And then there were print fonts everywhere, every sign, and I was just like, oh, Chris is gonna have a problem.
Oh my gosh. Because they use copperplate and listen, the fact that I know the name of that font proves I'm a font nerd, but also like
that was the Penguin's name, Oswald Copperplate.
Copperplate. Yeah. But that's like people joke about papyrus, like Muggles joke about papyrus. Yeah. Graphic
Helvetica.
designers.
I hear a lot of talking Helvetica.
There shouldn't be. It's clear. It's concise. You can read it well. I have no problem with Helvetica. Copperplate, however. All right. I need to also discuss how terrible of a father that this man was.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he redeemed himself literally ever through the entire film.
I agree. Yeah.
He didn't get her a Christmas present and thought when the mom was giving him things, oh, can I pawn this off? And she's like, no, we're not married anymore, you dum-dum.
Yeah.
And then he like abandons her with 9,000 phone calls, which is the point. I get it. But then even after they literally 2 seconds after he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so busy all the time. I love you so much. And they hug.
Yep.
They're like, Christina is at the store. You should go. And he's like, okay. Which was like right when they were going to go see that movie, like father-daughter day.
Yep.
And the daughter's like, yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah, she did kind of force it, but I think she is over her dad. Like, there's a scene where she's with a mixing bowl and she just doesn't care about her dad anymore. Like, that's the end of that relationship. But also, Chris, he ends up buying her a Christmas present. He is let's just say, millionaire. They're pretty wealthy. They're probably higher than slightly like, oh, I've got a couple million. I mean, like, you're talking millions and millions of dollars.
He's like, can I give her this can? Can I give her this pen?
Ends up getting her the thing she was going to steal. And I looked it up online because I recognized it from like the Oriental Trading Company. It is a $15 piece of crap product.
I hate this guy. I hate him so much. Oh my God. And then also there's one point where he tried to make a joke, but sounded really dirty in front of his daughter. Cause he's like, they don't call me Handy Andy for nothing. And I was like, you perv. Like,
there was a terrific silver lining to this, though, to all of this.
Do tell.
Daniel Bacon is awesome in this movie. He plays one of the owners of a place in the wharf. He sells out very early because he wants to start a theater company, and he gets the money to do it. This guy, you have seen him. He has been in so many Hallmark movies just this season alone. If it's not our friend Nelson...
Nelson Wong?
Nelson Wong, that's playing the mayor. It is definitely Daniel Bacon.
Yeah.
So you see him all over the place. In this one, he plays this very, like, colorful, outgoing actor. And he has Harriet as his, like, partner in crime. Because I don't think they were romantically together.
No, not at all. I think they were just good friends because they both had a love of the drama.
Yes. And the thing was, his character, it was like he made a character choice. And on day one, and on day 1.5, she said, not so fast, and jumped it. And the two of them were, again, last week we were ripping, I forget which movie it was because there were so many. Oh, My Christmas, about having multiple plot lines. This is the plot line I wanted. And I'm like, you're covering the wrong story.
I wanted to watch his entire one-man Christmas Carol, and we never got to see it.
When he put on the Charles Dickens outfit, his line of, Charles Dickens may have worn this, and I just thought that was an amazing line. I think it was ad-libbed.
I mean, Kevin, I think this film, it was pretty obviously who Kristin would play in this movie. I think it's blatantly obvious. Which you've mentioned her already.
Yeah, Harriet is who you're... Yeah, absolutely. I wanted it to be Daniel, but she had so many great lines, and she would not take... She suffered zero fools in this film.
Yeah.
And it was very enjoyable. I really liked her.
She was such a bee, but like a nice bee. And I loved her so, so much.
That said, was not enough to save this film for me. This definitely got a naughty.
This is a naughty baby. Yeah. Moving on.
The next movie that we watched was a lovely little film, maybe, called A Christmas Together with You, or as I like to call it, A Christmas to Get Her with You. Either way works. During the Christmas season, Megan and her father figure Frank, try saying that. Do it, Chris.
Father figure Frank, this is my actual father figure Frank.
You had it and you lost it. Her father figure Frank head out on a road trip to find his long lost love. Along the way, Megan finds love of her own. This is Harry Lennox as Frank. Laura Vandervoort, awesome name, plays Megan, and Niall Mater plays Steve. Also, just want to throw this out, Dax plays Max the dog. Nope, other way around. Max plays Dax. Yeah, that's it. It's Max is the real dog. Dax is his name in the movie.
Why did they do that? I will question that. There's so many movies where they change the pet's name.
Yeah.
But I don't quite understand that. Why not just use the dog's name?
I get it if it's Lassie. If you're making the movie Lassie and you're like, oh, and the dog's name's Benji, and then it's like all sorts of messed up. But
or like Marley and Me. Like it has to be Marley, But
that was based on a real story. So that I get. Like that, you're not going to get Marshmallow and call him Marshmallow, and people are like, why isn't he Marley? But yes, I agree with you. Just come on. Although it does weird me out when an actor is playing a character with their real name and then that character is a horrible person, and I'm like, this is weird.
Like Angela Kinsey, but Angela Kinsey is not a horrible person. She played Angela, who was slightly a mean person on The Office, but is the most bubbly, kind person in life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Angela doesn't suit her. Like her name shouldn't be Angela, because when I hear Angela, I think of her Office character.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't love about this film is, once again,
anything at all.
But more importantly, the fact that this movie could have literally just been us trying to get Frank to find that lady again.
Yeah.
I did not need the lead chickie babe to find love. I didn't need it.
Chris, it's such an afterthought. I don't think she does, but
no, I think the writer was like, oh crap, people like fresh love, and then like added in there, because they hung out, they wrapped presents once.
Yeah.
And then did I miss another time they hung out? And he was like, this place won't be the same without you. I was like, you just need someone to help you wrap presents.
They went caroling. That was it. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I felt like I fell asleep in the middle of the movie.
Yes.
And I didn't. And I was like, what did I miss? Like, I missed like something here, because there is a point where all of a sudden Steve and Megan have this like connection, but it really comes at the end of the entire movie. Yeah, that was man.
That was so weird. He like ran up to her at the end, was like, oh my God, you came back. And like the funny thing is, she came back because of the dog. So,
yeah, which was so dumb, and also an afterthought. When she first meets Steve, she and Frank go on this road trip. I guess we could take it further back. Frank was happily married, dead wife, boom. Then he's talking with Megan, who also, this is another weird becoming a Hallmark trope, I guess. Megan works at a pastry coffee shop. So what does she make for Frank? A huge omelet. And it's like, why is it these bakeries are making all this food? Because we saw the exact same thing in Gingerbread Holiday Larf. I forget what the name was, which I liked. Yeah, so she has dreams of being a restaurateur, which again, okay, let's add up all the plots. So she connects with this guy, Frank, because she has apparently no family. So we have like an entire dead family alert.
Right. She like no one.
No, she was supposed to be marrying Brian, and she always spent Christmas with his family.
Brian.
I know, Brian, you got some explaining to do. So she is friends with Frank, who eats at the establishment. That's all we know of their relationship. And this is her father figure.
When they ended up having to share the room, my mind was blown.
Me too.
Was blown.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think that there needed to not be any rooms at the inn. I think what could have worked better was because that inn wasn't in the best of shape, was just that they were trying to get their business back up so that there were 2 rooms available. But I guess Hallmark decided, let's put them in the same room so they can have these heartfelt conversations. Yeah. But if I'm thinking back to like when I worked at a video store and like a same guy would come in, he'd come in every Tuesday when the new releases came out, ask my opinion. We became friendly. I knew a little bit about his life. He knew a little bit about mine. If we ended up I wouldn't
going on a road trip
and then share a hotel room with him.
And then you concoct these crazy situations so that he can get with this lady. It could have easily been his or her Megan's father. They could have had Frank be Megan's father. The mother is long gone. He's kind of held on, and it would have been just as good. I don't know if it was because they had cast Harry Lennox, and I hope not. And Hallmark didn't want to do a that doesn't matter. It's all acting. Just you tell your story. It felt like the middle of the movie was missing.
Yeah. And I felt like once you started connecting with Frank's plot line, they're like, boop, here comes Steve. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, these 2, boop, Frank. And I was like,
Yeah, the timing was bad. First of all, the editing was terrible. I'm copying this in. I shot this with my cell phone. I apologize for how rough it is. This is when the CG kicks in. Boop. And that is why these movies are put together too quickly. And they don't need to be. I mean, that really comes down to this idea that Hallmark is trying to make these movies on like a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And some of the actors, the higher end actors, probably get paid relatively well, especially for the amount of work that they're doing. But at the same time, you can take time with these movies. Go back to the opening of this episode where we talked about the movie Noel, which was from a couple years ago. It's Chicky Babe from Pitch Perfect. What's her name? Do you remember?
Anna Kendrick.
Yes, Anna Kendrick, Bill Hader. It's a neat little movie where it's Santa Claus's kids, and it's got a budget. It clearly has a budget. They shot the thing over a longer amount of time. It's not some great big Hollywood film.
But it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just a nice, and again, you can do that with these. They just choose not to, mostly because we watch them and just go, well, whatever. And because that cycle continues, Hallmark goes, well, we don't really need a full plot, or here's 26 of them.
My favorite question on the Hallmark group that I'm in is, why does no one ever look cold when they're just standing outside in a sweater? And I'm like, because half the time they're not outside, and it's summer when they're filming them.
Yeah.
Did you notice the snow is cotton balls?
When they have snowball fights, that's when you know it's real snow. But other than that, we pick up cotton.
It just like wafts. My question is, skip to the end when the lady Frank was pining for all along.
Claire.
Claire reads his note saying like, your dad said I wasn't good enough for you. So I made the mistake of believing him and then left. And so when she reads that, she's like, oh my goodness. And he put in a ring that he had made for her. Right. And that wasn't a diamond, was her favorite stone. And so then when they meet up at the very end, she's like, did they get engaged?
Oh, she wanted him to put it. Yeah.
Did they get engaged?
I don't know. I mean, but then again, does it matter? Because again, Hallmark believes in fresh love, and this is obviously old love. So it's like, we don't care. We don't. Did they kiss? That's what I'm trying to. They did kiss, right, Chris? Or did they not? They dance.
They danced, and that's it. And then, that's it. They didn't kiss. Frank and Claire didn't kiss.
For kiss.
No.
We just got the ring. So we got a full-on engagement and no. This one, for me, also got a naughty.
This got a big time naughty.
Oh, since you brought it up too, the opening of the movie, not even the opening, as they're on the road trip, Megan is coming out with coffee that she had bought for Frank, why wasn't Frank going in to get the coffee? That's the chivalrous thing to do, but whatever.
Like, while she's pumping gas, why isn't Frank going and getting snacks for the road trip? That's code. Whoever's pumping the gas, the passenger or other person goes in and gets snacks.
He was too busy looking at the photo that they showed about 1,000 times in the movie. But so Megan comes out, and Dax or Max or whatever the dog's name is to you, jumps up on her, and the whole time you have Steve on the phone, and he just isn't really, because very busy guy. We forgot to say he has a whole career in Dallas that is like, we don't know what's going on, but so he sticks his hand in his pocket, just gives her a whole bunch of money, goes for the dry cleaning, and leaves because he's never going to see her again.
He said for the coffee. He said because she spilt Frank's coffee.
It was all over her.
It was all over her coat.
Oh, then I hate him. And this is a definitive naughty.
It was a wad of 20s.
Yeah.
And she was mad. I would have been like, oh, hell, no problem.
Yeah. And I also would have been like, I'm going to get some good coffee, not that crap. That same dog at the end of the movie that you have forgotten about, by the way, because the dog doesn't factor in any way, shape, or form. Again, you see the dog once in a while, and it's referenced by like this curmudgeon-y old person staying at the inn who leaves. But the dog, as Frank and Megan sneak out, basically, because Claire doesn't want anything to do with Frank before she gets the letter, and Megan doesn't care about Steve because they don't know each other. They go out the door and leave the door open, and we see the dog slowly saunter out the door, and they cut to commercial. So then the next shot is them driving in the car, and I'm like, did they forget about that? I don't know how the hell this happened, but the dog got into the back of the car under and then pops its head up, and she almost crashes, and then wants to steal the dog. She's like, we don't have to go back. I'll just keep the dog.
I think you've most likely seen Can't Buy Me Love when her brother, which is I think Seth Green, is in the back. And then like farts a whole, or like someone.
No, they fart. They fart in the car. Yeah.
But like, that reminded me of that scene when the dog just like comes up. But like, how did they? I mean, the mechanics of the dog getting in the car, because they would have. Anyway.
And there's a deal that you make as a movie watcher with the movie makers called the suspension of disbelief, and that is fine. Right. But the other end of that deal is you better give me a plot. And since you didn't do that, I don't have to suspend crap. So once again, a naughty.
A naughty for me as well. But Kevin, can I tell you who I would have killed to play in this movie?
Who?
You got that right. The saxophone playing, elf wearing best friend of Steve.
Was he his best friend?
I think so, yeah.
His name was Kyle. I thought he was his brother at first. Obviously, they were, the mom and dad were Lily White, speaking of White Christmas, and he was not, but the way he hugged Steve and the way Steve was kind of like, I was just like, who is he, a stranger? Like, I don't understand who this guy is. And
I think it was his best friend. Okay.
Yeah, he did. He played the saxophone and was willing to do stand-up routines to whatever was needed. My man Kyle was there.
I'm so glad that he finally got to play the saxophone finally, because he wanted to play so badly at the veterans lunch, and then Steve came out and interrupted him. I was like, but he's gonna play the sax.
Yeah, came out with garbage food, by the way. Like the food, if that's all they had, that casserole, you know what? We don't have time to talk about that. Watch it. And
two of my least favorite things: green bean casserole and ham. I would have left. I would have been like, you don't thank me for my service.
Speaking of Seth Green and the farts, it must have stunk in there later. Hey, there was another movie on the Movie and Mystery channel called 5 More Minutes. Kristin, did you watch it?
No!
Me neither. If you watched it, good for you. Tell us about it.
I would just like to assume that this movie was just about like a woman who just was very tired and just kept saying, 5 more minutes, Mom.
Yeah,
5 more minutes. No, I didn't bother. But the folks on the Hallmark group said it was a tearjerker. So
it is based on a Scott McCreery song. So about when his grandfather died, he just wanted 5 more minutes. He wrote a song about it. I did look it up today because I was curious. Is the song 5 minutes? It is not. It is 4 minutes and 27 seconds. So if I can have 5 more minutes with you, Grandpa, I'm not going to need it all. So
he wanted to leave some time for, Grandpa, I wrote you this song. Please sit down and enjoy.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and Grandpa, it's going to take him a while to sit down because, he's dead. So, dead Grandpa alert!
Spoiler!
And finally, we had a movie that actually was a bearable film to watch this weekend called A Kiss before Christmas. This was on Sunday night. When nice guy Ethan casually wishes his life had taken a different course, he wakes up the next day to find nothing is the same. He's not married to his wife Joyce, he doesn't have 2 teenaged kids, and he's the CEO of the company he works for. If he wants to reclaim his original life and the family he loves, he must convince Joyce he's telling the truth and win her over, and he only has until Christmas Day to do it. This movie starred Terry Hatcher as Joyce, James Denton as Ethan Holt. I was not a fan, but if you watch Desperate Housewives, this is a reunion between those 2 characters who were together on Desperate Housewives. And of course, Mary Lou Henner. Did you not know that? Did you watch?
No, I've never watched Desperate Housewives. Do I look like I watched Desperate Housewives? But But everyone kept saying a reunion of Terry Hatcher and this guy. I was like, oh, they must. I don't remember a Hallmark movie they did together. It was Desperate Housewives.
I was going to say, did you think he was on Lois and Clark at one point? And he was Lex Luthor or something and tried to win her heart. Mary Lou Henner's character's name was Rona, which I find weird in the times of Corona, because so many people have used the term Rona as kind of the slang for Corona. It was just bizarre that was the name that they chose.
I would like to just rename this film.
Go ahead.
It is called It's a Wonderful Life, and I preferred it when Jimmy Stewart was in it.
Yeah. Is it It's a Wonderful Life, or is it called It's a Creepy Ass Santa Claus with some really messed up? Yeah.
Creepy Santa alert.
Oh, that guy? Are you talking about the other Santa at the end, or our magical Santa?
Oh, our magical Santa.
Yeah.
The whole time was just like.
Yeah, always with a weird little smile. This, in the 20 years ago, we start 20 years ago, and we see Ethan deliberating over whether to do something wrong. And there's an elevator. We talk sliding doors. This is a literal sliding door situation because the elevator door is open. If he gets in the elevator with his compatriot, he's going to break the rules, basically, to try and secure this deal. If he gets into another elevator, which Terry Hatcher's in, because she holds it for him, his life will basically be with her. We find out that elevator gets stuck for 4.5 hours. The 2 of them kind of bond, obviously, because of that terrible situation. But even 20 years before, we see that creepy Santa Claus watching them with his bell.
And they had the most weird glossy makeup on that Santa's cheeks too.
Yeah. All that aside, and once all this starts to happen for Ethan, he shows up in his house, and wherever Santa wants to be, he can be. He's magical, which is funny because again, when we interviewed Jay Black last year, he had told us Hallmark does not like magic. Their big thing is they don't like magic. They want real life, which this is obviously magic. But what ends up happening is Santa puts this one limitation on, which is if Ethan can't do this by Christmas, if he can't get back to he's stuck in this world forever and he'll forget the other world. And I was like, that's Jesus.
That is a strict, I literally wrote strict rules to a Christmas wish, Santa.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was awful. Really creepy and weird. So
I think he was really Krampus. I don't think that was Santa. That was Krampus.
It was Satan. There was just moving letters around. Chris, while we're watching it, I'm thinking to myself, this is the first movie that I can think of this year where we don't have a dead fill in the blank alert until I processed it out and Joyce and Ethan's kids are adopted.
Yeah.
And they end up in foster care in this alternate universe because
they have a dead parent?
Presumably they've got dead parents. I mean, they're missing parents. Evidential parents. That's not a word, but it says it. It must be.
Yeah. Something that was also interesting was this is one of the only Hallmark movies that I recall having a male lead. Because I really don't think I would call Terry Hatcher's the female lead. But if you were to say the lead of a Hallmark film, it's usually the woman's story that we're following.
Much more so, yeah.
I really enjoyed that it was the dudes. That was cool.
I will say Harry Lennox in the last film was billed as the top. He was billed above the actor.
it's, it's what it is. This one wasn't the worst. But also like I felt like it was slightly predictable.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, like he's gonna realize, oh no, I gotta stop assuming that there's gonna be like this crazy.
There's 7 minutes left. This is and you're like, oh, I guess this is the one. There's not gonna be a happy ending.
It wrapped it up really quickly at the end.
Very much so, yeah.
Really quickly. They stretched it out.
I do like that the demonstration of success. I don't know the screenwriters. I don't know if male, female, more than one. I have no idea. But red Ferrari. If you have a red Ferrari, you're successful. And sure enough, he shows up, and there in his driveway is his red Ferrari. And I was like, I wrote this. I was 14 years old, and apparently I wrote this movie.
Well, that's like, I'm not a fan of movies where people have where everything changes. Yeah. And they're aware of how it's supposed to be, what everyone else isn't. So then they're lost for like a good half hour of the movie. Yeah. I'm bored. I don't want to watch them realize they don't have a daughter anymore, that they're not married anymore. Like, I just wish they would just be like, you don't have this, 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 and this, now go. I
don't mind it in a good film, but it's when it's vocalized. Because there was a moment where you could tell it was when his son showed up. And, because the whole thing takes place in this youth center that's going to be torn down basically by Ethan's company and his wife, unbeknownst to her, because we are in right now a Hallmark multiverse. So this is part of that multiverse of Hallmark that Chris and I have talked about. Yes, it happens. So she's the lawyer trying to stop that. But then when he comes in, he's like, well, I don't want to do that. But then we see his kids are part of this youth center because their foster family has them there because they're doctors and blah, blah, blah. But when he sees his son, you can see it affects him, the actor. Like, it was a great moment. And then he says it. And I'm like, you didn't need to say it, man. Like, we saw it on his face.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm not liking this one as much as
Listen, comparatively, this was the best movie I've seen in years. If I was on an island and that weekend is my choices, I'm watching this every night for the rest.
This one all the time, yeah. Because you know what, the thing that made it actually quite easy to watch was all the performers were great. Like they're not bad. You know what I mean? Like none of it seemed awkward. Like that first couple, like Ken and Barbie, had no chemistry. Yeah. And then like with this, at least like. I guess maybe because of the history of those two actors already working with each other, I believed that they had been married for like the 20 years, the moment the movie started.
Absolutely. And they have problems, which is also something you don't see a lot in Hallmark. So they're having problems. They're having financial problems, which was nice because we talk about that. Hallmark goes one way or the other, where it's either you're like desolate, which they rarely do, or you're so wealthy, it's like, this isn't grounded in any realism that any of your fans can really appreciate. Whereas this, they have a radiator to the car goes. That's a problem. The kids are almost of college age. The wife wants to go back in the real world, wants to go back to school to become a lawyer. So like there are those things, and it's like this is all real life problems you can identify with that are stressors on a marriage and any relationship. So
the interesting thing about this, speaking of money, is that she did not pay for the Christmas tree.
No, nobody pays for anything. They didn't. They were putting it on his Ferrari. If you have a red Ferrari, you don't have to pay for stuff.
You don't have to pay for it. They're like, oh, just take it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, is that your Chevette? No, it's my Ferrari. Oh, that's your.
Oh, well, you go ahead.
Please, I'm so sorry. My God, I breathed on it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, boy.
Kristin, this made me, so I always look at IMDb, that's how I know about Dax and Max for the dog name, because I like to see what are characters' names, because sometimes they don't even say a character's name.
Right.
That happens all the time, and it's like, how good is your agent? Because agents will sometimes say, give my client a name. And a lot of times they'll just go, okay, here, we don't give a crap, here's a name. But sometimes your agent sucks, so if you're guy 3 and you speak, your agent did not do their job, and you should get another agent. But this cracked me up. The guy at Ethan's desk, when Ethan is like in alternate world, he goes to his old desk, even though he's the CEO, and there's another guy sitting there, kind of looks a little bit like him. He is billed as Bizarro Ethan, and I was so happy at that.
That's all I ever want to be billed for ever in my life is Bizarro Ethan.
Oh man, I wish that's who I picked for you then, but it is not.
Who did you pick? I don't think I picked one from this one.
I did. And that's why I asked, wait, which Santa do you mean? When he finally gets back to the right time, his wife believes him, even though this is such a crazy story, and he sees Santa with his back to him. He runs over and goes, Santa, and taps him on the shoulder. And Santa turns around, and he's this like real angry looking Santa. He's like, whoa! And it made me laugh because he's got the bell, and like if somebody came over to him, presumably they're giving him money. They're donating money. So you think he'd be like jovial and jolly. Yeah. But he turns around and he's like, whoa! And I was like, Kristin Finger.
I'm a very good evil Santa.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. What was that Santa billed as? What was their name?
They didn't have it because that's the other thing. Hallmark does a terrible job of getting stuff into IMDb.
Yeah.
It takes a little while, so you have to go back.
Can we assume it was Bizarro Santa?
No, he was back in the real world. That should be real Santa. So unless that's because that was when he got back. The other guy's Bizarro Santa.
But the other one's Cheeks is Bizarro Santa.
I would think he is Bizarro Santa. Or Satan. That's when the little kid pops up from 8 movies ago. Kristin, let's talk dudes.
Let's talk dudes.
So we had a bunch of dudes in these movies. Maybe that's enough to save them. So going all the way back to the beginning to Nantucket Noel, we had Trevor Donovan, Kristin Finger. I'm just going to throw my number out there. I gave my man Trevor Donovan a mere 3. And that is a backslide from last time, because last year in USS Christmas, I gave him a 4.
I'm assuming you have what I gave him last year as well.
Dude.
Okay, yep. I am going to give him a 1.
You also backslid by 1. You gave him a 2 last year.
I didn't like his character. No. I didn't like anything about this person.
Yeah.
It really, and I don't even like kids, but the way he treated his kid. Yeah. And I
didn't even like the way he wore suits. And I know like that's a thing that you will do. Like the suits they put on all those blues.
Put the suits, because at one point he had like this turquoise suit and then this blue suit. Yeah. Put those on Hines. Put those on Paul Campbell.
Okay. We'll get there. Put
them on Ian Bailey.
Yeah, he's not in one this year. People were talking. They were like, Bailey, get back. But
yeah, so this guy, Ken gets 1. Ken Doll gets a 1.
All right. How about A Christmas Together with You or A Christmas to Get Her with You? I think that's clever. I never realized. To get her. I
didn't realize it either.
Yeah, I'm very proud of myself.
Well, what's their name? What's his name? Something.
Niall Mater.
So this was the actor from the Ugly Christmas Sweater movie last year.
Yeah.
So I think this guy is very attractive. There's something about him that's so laid back in the way that Tyler Hines' sort of laid backness is like it's almost like they realize they're in a Hallmark movie, but like they're not going to put on that Prince Charming sort of thing that you assume Hallmark.
Yeah,
because that is a turnoff to me, which is what the guy in movie 1 this week was like. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, F you. Yeah. So I'm going to give him a 7. I'm going to give us 7.5 because he was wearing. I liked some of the fits of his shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. He's got to look like a smart. Oh, by the way, last time you gave him a 4. So this guy that you think is really good, you didn't really, but whatever. He's got a way about him that looks like he's never taking it seriously, which I want them to play that with the character more, because I feel like that relationship, that chemistry may have automatically just kind of created, but it didn't in this.
Right. I'm going to just make it a solid 7.
7. Okay. Well, it's funny you say that because I was a solid 7 in Christmas Sweater. Never Kiss a Man in Ugly Christmas Sweater, or whatever the title was. I loved that character. They had chemistry. The two of them had chemistry. That was a fun movie. This one, again, a 1-point backslide. I'm going to give him a 6. And
that's fair. You know what? I'm going to keep my 7 just because there's something about.
But I want it. I thought I brought you down. Bring you down.
There's something about him that I'm like, I think I hate him in like the great way. Do you know what I mean? In like bad boy. Yeah. But I don't know. I want them to put him in something where he gets to use what I think he has.
Hey, listen, Chris, this one is strictly going off the looks if we do 5 more minutes, and I don't see why not, because we're not above it, but we're talking about David, I'm going to try it, Hayden Jones, I believe?
Spell it?
Haydn-Jones.
Okay, I'll pull him up. I'll look at him.
He's a good-looking dude.
Do you know who this is?
Who is this?
This is the dude from Supernatural. He played Arthur Ketch. Okay. On a bunch of seasons of Supernatural. So I have a little softy spot, but he has not, I never really found him that attractive, but because he was in Supernatural and redeemed himself in Supernatural, because at first he was a baddie, but then he redeemed himself and went over to, there's a multiverse in Supernatural as well, Kev.
No, I gotta watch it. I know.
So I'm gonna give him a 4. Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a 5.5 because he's a good-looking dude. I see him hugging a young girl. I'm assuming it's his daughter. If it turns out,
maybe.
Then I'm gonna bump him way down to a 0. But for now, until I get more evidence, I'm gonna.
Is this the photo you're looking at?
Yeah. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I think this is actually like from a Comic-Con.
Well, he likes his fans. I'm still with the 5.5.
Which is a silly photo, which, but no, he's perfect on Supernatural. Like perfect. Yeah.
That brings us to our last hunk, which is James Denton. A little bit older for the hunkiness. Not your typical chiseled, beefcake, if you will. But I liked him. I like what he brought. I definitely felt like, I think this was his first Hallmark film. And I don't know that he understands how they shoot coverage, which is basically they keep the camera rolling and grab anything they want. So there were times, like there was one shot, one little scene, he rolled his eyes. I said to my wife, that's the 40th time he rolled his eyes. And I don't blame him for that because I don't think he knows, what they're using. And again, the editing nightmares that these things can have.
It's like, oh God, why am I doing this?
I'm not gonna factor that in. But he was a good dude. He was fun. Like to your point, I enjoyed following him, even though you typically are following a female character. So I'm going to give this guy a solid 7. First time 7.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be as nice.
Well, you're rude. I mean, what do you want?
That's fair. But the thing that I did enjoy is I think we know Kristin likes a tall, lanky, skinny dude with like a little bit of muscle. So that's why Kevin and I work together so well. But so like when they had him in like some suits, I was like, well, he looks nice in a suit.
Oh, that one suit, the 3-piece?
Yeah, when really in like Bizarro World suit was really nice.
He had a tuxedo at one point.
So I was like, they go. But like his face doesn't really do it for me. I liked his charm. I'm gonna give him a 4.
I bet you I could convince you to give him a 5. Good dude. Wanted to get back to his wife. Didn't care about the money. Didn't care about the Ferrari. Loved his wife. Loved his kids. Can I get a 5 from a man?
Fine.
That's for you, James Denton. Merry Christmas. Those were the films we watched this week. We watched other things this week. We are going to start reviewing Hawkeye, the Disney Plus show. By the time this episode comes out, the first 2 episodes of that series will have come out. They were coming out Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. You are likely watching this the day after Thanksgiving. Thank you for doing that. But you can go right to our YouTube page. You can click subscribe and like, and you will never miss anything that we are doing. We will be doing all of the Hawkeye shows, along with our dear friend who does not want to watch any of these Hallmark movies, Mike Gregoric. So please tune in and check those out. Next week, Kristin.
What's happening?
Is our Hell Week, if you will. There are so many movies. So this is what we have. On Thanksgiving, at 8 o'clock, we have 9 Kittens of Christmas. If you didn't see the original, guess what? It airs exactly before it. So you can watch the 9 Cats of Christmas. That's not what it's called.
9 Lives of Christmas.
9 Lives of Christmas. Then on Friday, we have Christmas CEO at a 6 o'clock hour. Whoa. Then we are going to have on Friday again, it's happening, finally happening, late in the season, something to be thankful for, an unexpected Christmas with our friend Tyler Hines, written by one Paul Campbell.
Could we rephrase that as starring our friend Tyler Hines and our great friend Paul Campbell?
We are very close with all of them. Then Saturday night, the 27th, we have again at 6 o'clock, Making Spirits Bright. At 8 o'clock, we have Christmas at Castle Heart, also written by our friend Paul Campbell, my man.
And Lacey.
It's a Lacey Chabert film, yes. Or as I like to call her, not Jennifer Love Hewitt. Nothing against Jennifer Love Hewitt. Love her.
They're just similar.
And then, if you want to pop over to the Movies and Mystery Channel at 10 o'clock on Saturday, you will see Time for Them to Come Home for Christmas, the third in the trilogy. Kristin, we're going to have to watch that one because it is a Christmas amnesia story.
Kevin, can I tell you something that the stupid people in the Hallmark group were like, oh, great. Now we're politically correct in the pronouns of a title of a Christmas movie.
I don't know why you stay. You are such a trooper to stay in those stupid groups.
These people are so stupid.
Unless you found us through one of those stupid groups.
And we love you so much.
Yeah, you're awesome. It's the group. It's everybody else.
It's not everybody. It's literally just like so many random people, and then everyone just attacked that person for being so just rude and dumb.
Yeah. Speaking of rude and dumb, then we roll into Sunday, what I call the Hallmark anti-vax night, where we have Christmas in Tahoe with Laura Olsness, would not get vaxxed. And then we have at 8 o'clock the Christmas contest with DJ Tanner. I'm just kidding, that's not her name. It's DJ Fuller because she got married and is now DJ Fuller. Listen, here's my biggest problem with the Christmas contest. Candace Cameron Bure, that's my biggest problem. I love John Brotherton. I do. He's awesome. He's fun. I loved him on Fuller House. I don't know that I'm going to watch it. We'll see what happens. Probably not. We'll see. So tune in next week.
Right.
You can find out. We got a letter from one Sarah Blask, and it was so awesome. She said, last countdown to Christmas, she noticed that she kept seeing the same block over and over and over in different Hallmark movies. And she says, because she's a dork, Sarah was on the show. She is
not a dork.
Not even a little bit. In fact, you can go watch the show that Sarah was on last season. It was episode 5. And it was, oddly enough, Never Kiss a Man in a Christmas Sweater. So, but she did some sleuthing and used Google Maps to find the street. It is called Montrose Street in Abbotsford, British Columbia. It is a suburb of Vancouver. And she sent us some screenshots. So here's a screenshot of the Google Street View. You can see Duft and Company Bakery, which stands in for a lot of different bakeries when they do them. And there's also a freestanding store there that they use for the front of an awful lot. If you recognize the name Abbotsford, unfortunately, they've had terrible storms the past couple weeks and a lot of flooding. So a lot of damage. So my hope is everything ends up okay there. Again, it's climate. This is the world we live in now, and let's do nothing about it. But hopefully everybody there can get back up on their feet, and Hallmark can continue to reuse the exact same shots that are supposed to be Illinois, New York, Connecticut, you name it. So
that's amazing. Thank you, for sleuthing, Sarah Blask. That's the kind of work that Kevin and I won't do.
We refuse. We used to, but we don't have time. So watch this show and our other show. And I also do a podcast called the Punch Up Podcast. You can listen to that. There's a lot going on. Chris, you got a lot going on.
That's right. We got comedy sports going on. We got Christmas Town, PA going on all the month of December at Comedy Sports' Theater. And also, I'm on some podcasts randomly because I'm going to be talking with Kevin about Hawkeye. But I'm also going to be talking on the All Snap podcast from Crossroads Theater, talking some Hawkeye. So it's just a lot of Hawkeyes talk, really.
It's like when you say Hawkeye, it sounds like saying hot guy, but with an accent. Oh, it's a hot guy. It's like
a hot guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeremy Renner is a hot guy, so he plays hot guy.
Doesn't sound like it anymore. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe.
Goodbye. Enjoy your leftovers.